for me, um, I couldn't give two flying Fs, like I said, because the fact of the matter is that we need to find our own identity within ourselves. Okay, we need to know that where we belong. Just because you put an orange tree in China doesn't stop it from being an orange tree. They have an old saying here, a Mandinka saying here, that because the log floats in the pond, it doesn't mean that it's a crocodile.
It's the Don Doctor Show, like and subscribe. It's the Don Doctor Show, like and subscribe.
Welcome to the Don Doctor Show. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me today. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into this. I have a special guest today. The first time I heard about her was from my producer, Supreme. He had been following Udumaya, and that was the first time that we actually got introduced to your material. You did an interview about 2 years ago titled, "Is England Still a Dump?" after living in the Gambia for 3 years at that time. And that got us more interested and wanted to know more about your movement and everything else that you had been through. Of course, I'm here with the none other, the lady, the CEO of Brexit, Madam Juliet, who aims with her movement to encourage and strengthen the bond between people of African ancestry, and if they are brave enough and able to leave America and Europe, come back home to Mama Africa again. Welcome, Madam Juliet, to the Don Dada Show.
Thank you for having me on the Don Dada Show. Brexit is very happy and very appreciative and very honoured to be here. So thank you for taking time out of your life and your day to invite us. And thank you for even considering us. We appreciate it. Very humbled to be here.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Let's get straight into this. We have something that we do at the Don Dada Show called Quick Fire with the Don Dada. And it's basically just 12 questions just to get to know you a bit better. Just to break the ice. Okay. Answer as honestly as you can. Let's go. What do people misunderstand most about you?
My humor. I have a very dry sense of humor, and some people mistake it for, I don't know, but some people just don't understand my humor, and I'm the only person in the room laughing. So, so it's my humor most of the time. I find the most trivial things laughable. So, and that's because I just see joy in so many things. So it keeps me happy. Even if it's a bird doing a somersault, I think it's hilarious. So my humor.
Okay. How do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who helped to educate and liberate Africans home and abroad about Africa itself, about the emancipation, I think repatriation, and also about our reparations. I'd like to be known as maybe an unvoted stateswoman for the diaspora and for Africa.
Amen. What is the most important lesson that you've learned in life?
To follow my intuition, to always let my intuition be my guide, not to ignore it, and to follow it all the time.
Okay. What is your biggest fear?
Fear itself, I guess. Having fear is a fear because it paralyzes you and it stops you from doing things. So I fear itself.
Okay. What is your favorite movie and what does it reveal about you?
Roots. My favorite movie is Roots.
Mine too.
And it really inspired me, and it revealed to me and revealed about me my deep desire to come home, to know that I didn't feel at home or welcome where I was born. So Roots reconnected me with that journey. The fact that, Alex Haley wrote the book and Kunte Kinte also came from Gambia, which is where I'm living. It was like a conscious and subconscious connection that was made. And I watched the film at a very young age, I think maybe 4 or 5, and continued to watch the series as I grew older. And so yeah, that film really changed my life and also gave me the focus that we have somewhere to go to, that we were taken from somewhere and we have somewhere else to go to. So I guess that liberated my mind and also gave me the courage to want to make the journey back myself and to return back to where we belong, back to our ancestral roots, to fulfill that circle, to have that burning desire. And so watching it really inspired me, and it also reminded me of what our ancestors have been through in order for us to enjoy, the life that we enjoy today. Well, parts of it, I wouldn't say, life living in the West is entirely enjoyable, but, we mustn't forget that those people who suffered through civil rights, those people who suffered through Jim Crow, those people, who suffered when they first came to England, the Windrush generation, we mustn't forget, what our ancestors went through slavery in the Caribbeans, in the Americas, in America, in Australia, all over the globe. Slavery wasn't just located in one place in America. It was, it was literally transatlantic. So it reminds me of the journey of my ancestors and the fact that we only went there for not to stay. We went there to, do what we had been enslaved and kidnapped and, imprisoned, forcibly imprisoned and tortured to do, not to stay there for a long time, to return back. So take what we can and get back. Yeah. So.
Okay. What is something people would be surprised to know about you?
That I'm kind of fearless. I like extreme sports. So I love scuba diving. I love water. I love skiing. I love water skiing. I love any kind of extreme sports. I like quad biking. I like anything kind of daredevilish. I like paragliding. Yeah, I just like extreme sports, and I'll try anything as long as it's legal. And it's not too high risk in terms of my life. Although I have had some very bad accidents, it still didn't deter me from getting up and trying again.
Wow. Okay. Do you have any regrets?
Yes, actually, I do. I regret some of the people that I let into my life by not listening to my intuition. I do. I've been one of those people that always try to seek to help people, always want to lend a helping hand. And sometimes I've done it to the wrong people that have, tried to destroy my life, destroy my reputation, destroy my name out of nothing but jealousy and envy. So I do have regrets about not being more discerning, not investigating more into the background of that person rather than following my heart and seeing that he was in a bad situation, trying to help. That happened to me with an influencer, who then kind of stalked me. So it became very, it just became terrible. And then they had an online harassment and cyberbullying attack on me, and went on to make many untruthful, very deceitful, very dishonest videos about me online, to try and discredit me and ruin my reputation, and try to basically publicly humiliate me. So yeah, I do have those kinds of regrets, and it's like travel with a liar. That's what like her channel was like. And so, that's what she did out of jealousy and hatred and envy. And I didn't see it coming because I was just lending a helping hand. So I do have regrets at, not being more discerning. And now I am far more discerning than I was before. So I learnt my lesson. That was a karmic lesson that I had to learn. But these karmic narcissists, people that are only happy in your pain, these people exist. And I think I was a bit naive about people like that in the past, but now I know that there's some people, they just live for your demise. Okay, they just live to destroy you. They're not the same as us. You have people which, if you like, are divinely guided toward goodness, towards, if you like, a godly path. And then you have those people which, I'm sorry, are just like, would live in walking demons, and they exist. So, that's why I said always follow your discernment, follow your guidance, follow what's in your heart, follow what you pray for in a good way, and your prayers will be answered.
Absolutely. Amen. Do you have a life motto?
Do I have a
life motto?
A life motto? Yeah, do good and good will follow you.
There you go. Okay. If you had to describe yourself as an animal, which would it be and why?
I think that would be really hard, because I think that I'm kind of demure like a cat. Yeah. I'm like to see things from a different perspective, like a giraffe. I'm playful like an ape. Yeah. I'm loyal like a dog. And I'm giving and sharing like a kangaroo. So it would be hard to have one animal. So I guess if you could combine all of them, and I love my freedom like a bird.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So a combination of all of them.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Last two. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? I think I know this one.
Neither. It depends on where I am and who I'm with and what I'm doing. So I'm neither an introvert or an extrovert. Because if I'm in certain circumstances that desire for me to be, more, outwards, more fun-loving, more bubbly, more sociable, than I am. If I'm in a situation where I need to sit and observe, people might say that I'm an introvert. A lot of people think that I'm an introvert, in fact, because I'm more of an observer. I will sit and watch and take in the environment, take in the situation, and then I will, look if I should be there or not. So people think that I might be an introvert because if I go into an environment and the energy there doesn't feel right for me, I'll disappear. And so people think I am, but it's not that. If in the right environment with the right energies, with the right people, then I can be very outgoing.
Okay. And the last one, if money wasn't a factor, what would you do with your time?
The same thing I'm doing now.
There you go. Living life, enjoying life, freedom. Fantastic. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. I just want to know, what was life like for you growing up?
Challenging. My life was challenging. I wouldn't say, growing up in England in the 70s was ideal. I grew up with two parents, who often enough didn't see eye to eye, and so I grew up in a racist country, where we did suffer from hostility, terrible hostility and racism, both in the home environment from your neighbors, and your local community, and of course at school. So it wasn't nice to grow up not being liked or being unwanted or, just feeling othered. And so that feeling grows up with you because, a lot of incidents happen along the way because you see, your brother being bitten because the dog is set upon him, because he's black. You see the neighbor throwing dog poo over the garden. You're playing in the garden, and because the next door neighbor doesn't want to hear your voices, your laughing voices of the children, she'll pick up her dog feces and throw it over into the garden. And when it hits you in your head, it's one of the most humiliating things that can happen to you as a child. And this is happening just because of the color of your skin. So also, being separated from in school, where people will shuffle away from you. So it was like there was a divide between the black children and the white children, So although there was non-segregation, there was separation. And so it was that kind of thing. You didn't feel safe. You didn't feel, comfortable in your environment. NF marches, NF protests. That's National Front for anyone who doesn't remember the what they call, I think, EDF nowadays. And as you could see from the most recent protests that happened in England, it hasn't gone away. Although we want to, be under the illusion of inclusion and the delusion of, multifaceted, multicultural society, the truth is that, this is something that's trickled down from the very top all the way down, and the big boy clubs still exist. So, let's not be under any pretext that, we're like Duracell batteries and we're there because of what we can provide and what we can be used for. It's no slavery, but in just a modern day form.
Do you think that it's got better or worse?
I think that it's just morphed. I don't think it's any better, and I don't think it's any worse. I just think it's, like I said, it's illusions. It's illusions. It's just illusions pasted over illusions, pasted over illusions, pasted over illusions. Because our young men are still overrepresented in the criminal justice system. Our, young black men and women are still overrepresented in the unemployment figures. Our young men and our young women, and also our older women and older men, are still overrepresented in the mental health facilities. Our children are still overrepresented within the care system. And, we are still facing discrimination at work. We are still going to tribunals. We are still fighting for reparations. You're still being ignored year after year after year, still being ignored. None of our demands for reparations have been yet met. Been met with silence and laughter, from what I can see. They've used it as a mockery. So if you ask me what has really changed, it's just that the chains are just invisible, but they're still there because they've put the chains on us mentally, on our minds. And once they have your mind, they have you. And so, they give you that illusion in order to keep you confused. And that is what's happened today. Boys don't know what it is to be a man. Women are getting confused talking about non-binary. What the hell is that? And so I'm confused. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't even know, how you transmute from one gender to the other, because your ovary and your womb cannot be changed. You're still a woman. Your X and Y chromosomes can't be changed. So it's a big confusion. But like I said to you, it's the illusion. And also, people are now saying, oh, I'm not an African. Like, so what the hell are you then? And where did you come from? When I hear black people say that, oh, I'm brown, don't call me black. I said, but white people don't have a problem being called white. So why do you have a problem being called black? If anyone puts a negative definition on black, it's them, and it's just confuse you. But if you look around the universe, you look around the world, black is the most powerful color that exists. So why are you denying it? Every other color comes out of black. Wake up and smell the black, beautiful coffee.
We don't love ourselves like that as Black people, and I think that's due to slavery days and like
We
you
are
said,
Africans.
yeah,
We have to embrace ourselves as Africans. And that's what we have to do. There's no country in this world called Black.
Exactly.
Yeah, white people say, oh, I'm a European, I'm Irish. Yeah, I'm Welsh, I'm English. Yeah, I'm American, I'm this, I'm that. We have to also embrace ourselves as Africans. We keep running away. So you're African. Oh no, I'm quarter English, and I'm quarter this, and I'm quarter that, and I'm quarter whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you are African. The majority of DNA will tell you that you're African. In fact, people don't even look like you have got African DNA. So you also have to appreciate. And the thing is that we have to own our Africanness and be proud of it. And I think that is something that we have to, and we have been missold the impression of what Africa is. We've been totally missold on what Africa is. Africa is amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And living here has opened my eyes to so much. And I've just, scratched on the tip of the iceberg. So, what I'm saying is that, in answer to your question, I think that some things have changed, but not enough. And then other things haven't changed enough. So it's almost like a vicious circle. So I would say that, yes and no. There has been some positive change. There's also been some negative change. And the only thing inevitable in life is change. But what kind of change are we living in today? That is the question. So, in order to put a concept or to rationalize what you've said, I think we'd have to close the question in a little bit to say, that for us as Black people, I think, and us as Africans, as Black Africans, we have to rationalize what we see as positive change, what we see as progress, what we see as development, and how we contextualize that, and how we help future generations with what we have now. Because there's no point in us thinking that it's okay to wear all these white brands and that means advancement. No, it means advancement for those white brands that you're spending your money on. You're teaching your child to be materialistic. Is that really positive change? So it's like, just to put it into context, I would say that, I think that there's more of us coming back to Africa, which is positive change. I think that there's more of us waking up to the fact that we are Africans, which is positive change. I think there are more of us looking for opportunities outside of Europe and America, which I think is positive change. I think more of us are becoming aware of Africa, which is a positive change. I think more of us are traveling to Africa, which I think is a positive change. But at the same time, I also see colorism, which I think is a negative change. I see increase in skin bleaching, which I think is a negative change. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like the balance.
But hasn't that always been there? Hasn't that always been there in terms of in the Caribbean with the bleaching and stuff, and of course in West Africa, most notably in Congo and places like that, they've always bleached.
People all over the world bleach because there's this obsession with white being right. And it's, and the white savior syndrome, we have it. And it's something that we have to get rid of. Dr. Frances Cress Wellesley, she wrote an excellent book called The ISIS Papers and, Keys to the Colours. Everyone should read it. And also Dr. Joy DeGroy as well. She wrote about the psychology behind post-traumatic slavery syndrome. And it's important for us to understand how these things afflict us on a day-to-day basis. We need to get back into our books and start reading. Read Chancellor oh gosh, I forgot his name, Chancellor's book, about our evolution. There's so much for us to read and still learn about ourselves. It's not just about sitting on social media constantly. It's also about getting back into our books and reading and understanding ourselves and loving ourselves. Because once we love ourselves and we say, okay, Chinese man is not afraid to say, yeah, I come from China. Is he? Indian man's not afraid to say, I come from India. No, they're not.
No.
The English white man is not afraid to say, I'm English, I'm a British. He doesn't even say I'm British. He says I'm English.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you understand? But then they label us Black British. You think about that.
Yeah. We don't have any identity, and we don't have anything to belong to. So
yeah, and now you've got man with man, woman with woman. You understand what I'm trying to say? We're getting confused. We're falling into their trap, and we need not to. We need to understand the basis of family values, which is essential to our survival.
Absolutely.
It's essential to our survival and to our procreation of ourselves, to multiplying. To being whole, to also understanding the difference between right and wrong, which is now getting used and confused.
Absolutely right. And I'm just thinking, is it possible to remain pro-Black and still stay in Europe and not come back to the motherland?
I think, let's say pro-African. Let's say pro-African, because we can all appreciate that we identify as Black people, but we need to be pro-African. And I think to be pro-African, you still need to visit the motherland. I'm not saying that you can't live elsewhere, but I'm just saying at least, come visit, come see, and identify with where you're from. Like some people, they go on these, they go to, some people go to Mecca, for example, on a religious kind of, sorry?
They go on a religious
pilgrimage. Yeah, pilgrimage. Yeah, thank you. And so what I'm trying to say is that going to Africa, all Blacks, so if you're Black, you're an African. So if you're Black and you're an African, your pilgrimage should be to Africa. So if you choose to live there and to stay there, at least teach your children, at least you yourself should have an idea. It might not be your exact, ethnic group that you're going to, but at least touch the motherland, the fatherland.
Absolutely right. It would change your perspective totally.
Yes.
It really will, touching down. I've been in both in the Caribbean and in Africa, in Ghana. And for me, the Caribbean and Africa are the same. So, we need to have more.
For me, they're not the same.
Really?
How can it be? You talk me. Hang on a minute. Your colonizers, your enemies, your enslavers, your murderers, okay? The thieves, yeah? They stole you from your motherland, and then they took you to somewhere where they forced you to work for free under bondage, under torture, under the most horrendous conditions and most heinous crimes any epoch of humanity has ever been through for over 300 years. That's not home to me. My parents are both born in Jamaica, and I love Jamaica. Jamaica is beautiful. Jamaica is amazing. Jamaica has the most, wonderful food. It has everything. Thank you so much. It has everything. It is amazing. And I love Jamaica, but Jamaica does not feel like my ancestral home. It does not. It does not feel the same. I go to Jamaica, I understand every word that they're saying, because they speak the same language as I do. I come here and there's a plethora of languages that I have to learn, which is my mother tongue or my father tongue. I have to relearn the culture, which is not the same as Caribbean culture. Caribbean culture has hints and tints here and there. And not to say that some of the, original groups, for example, like the Maroons and so on, and the Tainos, they didn't hold on to, their cultural identities and their languages, but they're far and few between. What I'm saying is that when I came to Africa is when I realized that this is the original location. That was a stop off on a ship.
Yeah.
That is where we were, branded and whipped and became the property of another man and another man. And our children were taken from us, our babies in arms. Taken from us, stolen from us. So how can the place of such pain be the place of my gain? I don't relate to it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have family in great positions in Jamaica. Related to the Wholeness family and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I have to look at where my heart is, where my soul is, where my spirit is, where my ancestors allow me to feel connected and rested. And that is here. This is where the tranquility and peace of mind is. And I think that's the difference. So I wouldn't say Blacksit is about going back to the Caribbean. No, Blacksit is about returning to Africa. And I know people have hijacked my concept, even though I trademarked it and I've done so much, but they've tried to hide it and create it like it's the Caribbean. I did not say the Caribbean. I specifically said to Africa. And the reason why is because that is where we were originally taken from. So let me clarify that for everybody, because it's been misprinted in newspapers. It's been misprinted. It's been, I had an interview. I think it was on Al Jazeera. I've done many interviews, and some of it people have conveniently misconstrued. So let me be very clear. Blacksit is about the return of Black people, which are Africans, back to Africa. Okay. It's the exit from the West back to the best, and that's Africa. That's why they're all here. Everybody's in Africa. Don't make any mistake. Every single nation is here. It's just us. They give us misinformation, so we will stay clear. But we need to stop staying clear. We need to, get our land and come back. Once I got my land, I became so motivated. And that's the reason why I try and, do my best to help people to get their repatriation lands, build their homes, get their businesses and return. And so that's what I do. I'm a repatriational specialist. I'm a specialist repatriationist.
Can you talk more about that repatriation and, that the movement, and of course, thank you for clarifying for our viewers, in terms of Brexit and what it stands for, and that it doesn't have anything to do with the Caribbean or Jamaica, it's to do with Africa.
Yeah, I do support CARICOM and their efforts for repatriations. I support, Andrew Holness, the Honourable, Right Honourable Andrew Holness, let me say it correctly, and obviously the Right Honourable Maya Motley and the other presidents in the Caribbean that are doing so much, and the Guyanese president, etc., that are doing so much to forward the move for reparations. I think it's very important. I also think it's very important that they dislocate themselves from, the so-called royal family, and I say so-called because if you look into history, you'll see that it is so called. And so I think it's important for us to become, empowered right now. So, yeah, it's not that I have anything against the Caribbean. I don't. I just think that, forward movement and the unity of us should be on the continent. Not to say that we need to go and run away from the Caribbean. I'm saying that we need to join together.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the diaspora and Africa need to join together. That's what I'm saying. So there needs to be unity between the diaspora out of Africa and the continental Africans and Africa. There needs to be unity between the two. So I'm not asking you to go and leave your house in Jamaica and come to Africa if that's where you feel comfortable. I'm not asking you to run from England to come to Africa if that is, where you feel comfortable. I'm saying that I didn't feel comfortable, and there are so many other people like me that don't feel comfortable and that are in debt, living day to day in debt when you don't have to. Do you understand? Because, for example, my house is built, so I don't worry about a mortgage. I don't worry about rent. It's just, maintenance and looking after the house. I don't have to worry about an electricity bill because I live off of the grid. I live on solar. My water comes from an aqueduct, so I get natural water from the ground. I grow a lot of my own food. So it's like, don't get me wrong, I still, have Netflix and chill like everybody else. Yeah. I'm not sort of, people think that I'm just living in the garden. No such thing. And, the garden has a swimming pool in it. I'm not that. Dislocated.
So I think in Europe, we're just surviving. It's not, you're not living, you're just surviving, and the cost of everything, because of the wars all around the world and everything has pushed up the cost of petrol, energy bills, and, it's crazy, it's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's a worldwide phenomenon, but when you can grow your own, you're more empowered. And that's why I say, come to Africa, get your land, grow your own, build your own, and live your own life. And the thing is, the tranquility, peace, and freedom that you feel is like, I've never felt so peaceful. And I think I've never been so happy. And so I think having your peace of mind, having your peace of mind is more valuable than anything else. I used to wake up stressed.
Yeah, I used
to wake up stressed.
Yeah.
I used to feel anxiety. I even had seasonal adjustment disorder. I would say mild depression even at some times, where I just was finding it so challenging. Life was so hard. And I just, when you wake up and you don't have to worry about a mortgage, believe you me, your life changes. Okay. When you're not having to worry about rent, your life changes. Okay. Regardless, everyone has good months and bad months. That's going to be the same no matter where you are. But the fact of the matter is, at least when you're able to balance out at least one of the largest factors that you can be comfortable in, I think that changes, everything. And that's really, really important. And feeling safe and being at peace and being around my own people has made me feel, far more comfortable. I'm not saying everybody's peaceful, everybody's lovely, there's no crimes, there's no criminals. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that living in an environment where I'm less likely to look over my shoulder. I'm not going to be called the N-word when I go to Marks and Spencer's and, my trolley accidentally bumps someone. They're calling me the N-word, shouting at me, screaming at me. Do you know what I mean? And embarrassing me in front of all of these white people. It's not likely to happen. So, and even if it is, I probably wouldn't understand what they were saying anyway. But what I'm saying is that, it's just for me, it's a better life. It's a better choice.
Fair enough. I really wanted to ask you this question. Why do you think in majority Black countries like Gambia, where you are based, and Ghana, you have more unity between the Black people there, unlike the Blacks that are in America and England, who are constantly killing themselves? And they just
because you have community. Because you have real community. You have real community, and it's really hard to describe it like when you're not here, but real community means that you actually support and help each other. So if you're not having rice, I'll give you some of mine. It's genuine. It's real. we'll sit down and eat at a bowl together and all share and talk and love each other, care about each other. And I never really experienced that before. When I first had it, I think it was OCD, where I was worried to sit down and eat. My hands, I'm not gonna lie, I tell you the truth, like, because I was so used to being in a foreign country with their foreign customs and mores, that I found it difficult to be at one with my people. So what we're having is the difficulty of being at one, because the culture that we're in is not fostered that way. It's not fostered towards community. It's fostered towards individuality. It's all about me, selfish, me, selfish, at any cost. I'll do whatever to whoever, at any price, for whatever, whenever, however. Do you understand? And not think about anybody else. There's a lack of empathy. There's a lack of empathy in the West, and that's what sets you apart. You have people who die. And like a dead 3 weeks in their flat. I remember one young girl, story about a young girl, she had an asthma attack. And for 3 weeks, her body was completely decomposed before they even found her. And I just said to myself that this is supposed to be a civilized society. That's the UK, and this girl was only young. So where were all the people around her? And that's what I said, it's because there's no sense of community. And that's why I say to people, leave. The reason why one brother is killing another brother is for gain. Yeah, it's for gain. It's either they want to gain respectability because of the social group that they're attached to. They want to gain money or finances. They want to gain territory. Yeah. They want to avenge someone or something else. But it's not about unity. And in Africa, you understand the concept of what unity is more so. Do you understand? I'm not saying that, the whole of Africa, there've never been any wars. Of course they have, because they're usually engineered by outside agencies and outside, governments outside of Africa, and the weapons are usually supplied outside of Africa. Do you understand? Because when you look at internal wars in Africa, they're very rare, actually, compared to the rest of the world. So what I would say is, look at who started World War I and World War II. Wake up and smell the coffee. Yeah, look at who's still starting it in Afghanistan. Look at who's still doing it in Palestine. You understand? Wake up and smell the coffee. They're doing it because they want us to fight against each other. And you'll find there's only war skirmishes and all of these kind of so-called, what do they call them again? Beginning with H. These, what do they call these groups? Hamas and what's the other one called?
Hezbollah.
Anyway, Hezbollah, that's it, H. I was forgetting that one, yeah, right? But all these so-called terrorist groups and so on, you'll find them only where there's gain, where there's oil, where there's resources, where there's cobalt, where there's gold, okay? That's where you'll find, that's where the trouble is, and that's the reason why they cause it. You've got Californium in Nigeria. That's where you got the terrorists. Okay, because one gram costs $27 million. So, you've got to look at these things and put them into context. At the end of the day, the reason why we are still fighting each other and killing each other in the West is because we're still fighting over resources, because they do just enough to keep you just above the poverty line. Okay, just above broke, as they say. So you want to better yourself, and so then you want to have a different future, and then they sell you the lie about, going into crime. So they pull you in the wrong direction. And so because they are based, these societies, these Western societies are built off of blood and crime, debauchery, murder, theft, stealing, destruction. That's what they're built off of. So when you live in those societies, what do you expect?
It's sad.
Ghana wasn't built off of that. Africa, most African nations wasn't built off of that. Yes, there have been, territorial skirmishes because of resources, ethnic, skirmishes over and battles over land and resources and cattle. Yes, that has happened. But what I'm saying to you is that not on the scale not on the scale of an atomic bomb in Hiroshima or Nagasaki.
Yeah.
Yeah? Not on that scale. You think about it. They make it seem like it was so long, so many years ago, like Nagasaki didn't even exist. They want to pretend like the atom bomb isn't still hanging over everybody's heads. But it is, and you know it, and you feel it. You feel that threat. With what's going on in Ukraine, right, and Russia, don't think that everybody's pretending that they don't feel it. You sense it in the environment. You sense it in the energy. You sense it in the changes to, prices. You sense it in the changes to the economy. You sense it in what's going on the news, and what they're saying on the news. You sense it with what's going on with Israel and Palestine. And believe you me, I feel sorry for them Palestinians. I really, really do. I really, really do. Because what's happening there, if you look at Palestine, if you look at the original Palestinians even, do you understand? What did they look like? Us.
Dark skin.
They look like us, okay? So what I'm saying is that the bottom line is that, it's all over land. It's all over resources. That's what I'm saying to you. So that violence there, that's carrying on. Don't think it doesn't trickle down, because young people hear about it through media, social media. Everybody's got a phone, as long as you're over a certain age. Most people have a phone if you live within, the Western Hemisphere, and sometimes also, in other countries as well. Depending on your financial situation. But it still breaks down to the fact that if you are surrounded by a country that is warmongering, whether, when I was growing up, I remember the Falkland War in England. Do you understand? I remember certain things. I remember when they went after Iran. I couldn't understand Libya. I still to this day don't understand why they've gone into these countries.
Yeah,
and done what they've done. Some eyes of what they call them weapons of mass destruction. Where are they?
Yeah, there is nothing.
Where are they? And why, after killing all those people, why weren't those leaders charged as criminals, just like they do all of the African leaders that they want to come and they want to put them into the criminal justice courts? Why aren't they holding them accountable? Why isn't Tony Blair accountable? Right? Why is it the American government at the time? Right? Why wasn't he accountable? Why were all those innocent lives, taken and they weren't accountable? What? Because it was a mistake? No, they should still be accountable, just like how they want to hold all the African governments accountable. They want to hold all the other world governments accountable. Why is it that when it comes to England and America, they seem to be having immunity? They have this immunity against, being found guilty of any crime. But what about those innocent lives that was lost? Why aren't those people afforded any kind of justice?
Absolutely.
And that's why I say it's where you are. That's why Black people are doing it, and what's happening, and why you're having all the stabbings and the killings and the shootings and the on black violence, is because you're not in a place where you are loved. You're in a place that hates your guts. That's why they took you there in chains. And if you think that's changed, watch and see. And you don't even have to watch and see, just turn on the TV.
Yeah, that's why I don't even watch the news anymore, because it's too depressing.
I don't have time.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. That was my dry sense of humor, by the way. So in case anyone takes me seriously. It's not my problem.
I feel like England has lost its identity and culture today, trying to please so many other different cultures. I remember growing up in early 1980s and of course the 1990s, when the shops used to close earlier. The milkman used to come and deliver milk and orange juice to houses and stuff like that. I feel like England's lost that sense of identity and culture. I remember when the butcher used to know your name, specifically when you used to go and get meat. I used to go with my mom and all of this stuff that, I know that younger people in their 20s and younger won't remember at all. But I remember, all of these, the sense of identity that, England had before, that they've lost now because they're trying to please so many different cultures. Do you think that England can get back its identity at all?
I don't give two flying Fs.
Fair enough. But do you remember?
To be honest with you, what you're not talking about, you're not talking about identity. What you're talking about is capitalism. Yeah, let's call it what it is. You're talking about the rise of capitalism. It's capitalism that has kept the shops open. It's capitalism that has us buying online. Yeah, it's the introduction of, the World Wide Web and new services. You're talking about development. What you're talking about is advancement and so-called progress. What you're talking about is now the intervention of technology in all aspects of life. What you're talking about is not culture, because British and English culture hasn't gone anywhere. Don't people still go to the Tower of London? Don't they still go to Buckingham Palace? Don't they still go to Windsor Castle? Don't they still go to? Hang on a minute. Don't they still go to Hampton? You made me lose my train of thought now because you're interrupting me. But what I'm trying to say, quintessential Englishness of drinking tea and eating cake is still there. Quintessential English racism is alive and well. So is, the intersectionality of British and English, because you keep getting them confused. Yeah, British and English are two different things. Okay? British is citizenship. English people, they know their culture and they uphold it. You've got to remember that 90% of the people in England are white. They are not like us. They're not losing anything. They never have. You're only 10%. Yeah? So-called multiculturals are only 10% of the population. I told you it's the illusion of inclusion when I spoke at the beginning of the program. There is no us. So it's not our culture. It never was. And it never will be. It never will be. You're trying to tell me that when you sat down to eat dinner at home, you didn't eat rice and meat and greens that your mum made? Didn't you? Didn't you learn Caribbean manners? Yeah. Didn't you learn Caribbean ways? Which part of that was quintessentially English? No, because the white people I knew at school, they could go home and swear at their mum. Yeah? They didn't have dinner, they had tea.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's true. That's true. Actually.
Right? They still do. There's fundamental differences. Huge fundamental differences. And the thing is that, going into a Sainsbury's and, there's a black lady that worked at Sainsbury's. I won't say her name, but she always remembered who I was.
Really?
So, like I said, it's nothing to do with culture. It's the fact that we had to go in and save them. After the war, we had to go on a ship, come clear away, only to face racism, to face discrimination, to face hatred, to be told that, oh, I'm sorry, you can't stay here because we only allow English people. There's no blacks, no Irish, and no dogs, okay? But they'll even slip on the Irish, you know what I mean? They'll even slip on the dog, but you're a wog, okay? And don't forget, that's what they used to call us, okay?
Yeah.
Right? Trigger warning for anybody who gets upset, yeah? Nickname, wog, yeah? Gollywog, okay? Okay, every bad word, and there's so much more that I can't say, the N word, okay? So let's not forget, because they've just changed the terms to change to terms of endearment, but you're still going through the same thing. You're still getting picked on at work when other people are allowed to slide on the same thing. You're still, going into a shop and being followed by security more than anybody else, particularly if you live in a white area. Okay, you're still number one on the list as a suspect for a crime just because of the color of your skin. Okay, you're still going to be arrested even if they know it wasn't you, just in order to torment you. Okay, so many people have been arrested and put on remand, right, for crimes they didn't commit, just because of the color of the skin. Okay, and I know because family too, I witnessed it. So what I'm saying is that, for me, I couldn't give two flying Fs, like I said, because the fact of the matter is that we need to find our own identity within ourselves. Okay, we need to know that where we belong. Just because you put an orange tree in China doesn't stop it from being an orange tree. They have an old saying here, a Mandinka saying here, that because the log floats in the pond, it doesn't mean that it's a crocodile. Okay? And that's what we have to remember. Because you're in England, it doesn't mean,
I like that quote.
Okay? That's what I'm saying. So you have to remember who you are and where you come from.
Yeah.
And then you don't care about their culture because remember, I told you there's only 10% of the others and 90% of them. Go online and check it if you don't believe me, because you see a speckling of color, right, of different nations here and there. You've got some Chinese, you have some Indians, you have some Pakistani, you have some Caribbean people here, you have some African people there, but go ahead and go and look at the demographic information. Yeah, go onto the National Office of Statistics and look. And then you will see that, no, dear, you don't represent not even 20%. So what do you mean you're caring about a culture? What do you mean you're caring about a loss? Caring about what? Do you think they care about you? Really?
Good question.
Really? And a top opening closing has got nothing to do with culture. Yeah, it's all about making money. And that's what England is about. It's about making money from you. It's about taking money from you. It's about robbing money from you. It's about extorting money from you. It's about finding any way to squeeze money out of you, any way, shape, or form, whether it's a TV license, whether it's, congestion charge, whether it's because you drove on a red line, whether it's because you parked in the wrong space, it's because you dropped litter in the wrong place, it's because, do you understand, you live in a particular area, so your council tax is going to be crazy to permit blacks from living there. Let's not pretend, right, that everything happens for a reason, right? How many of our family can't even live in the same areas that they lived in before? Why? Because what? What do they call it beginning with G?
Gentrification.
Gentrification. Yeah. It's not gentrification, yeah. It's no black people in this area of my nation. Okay? No Africans in this area of my nation. Gentrification.
Happened in Brixton.
Okay? That's what it is. But we have to wake up and smell the coffee. I say buy up as much property as you can, because property is money. Property is investment. Buy as much money as land as you can here in Africa. I will help you to do that. You understand? Legal, land that you can own in perpetuity. I will help you to own that, because the land that you're buying there is owned by the king. And don't forget it. Okay? So, just remember who you are and that you're a tenant to the royal family there. Okay?
So buying property in Europe is not a good investment. Do you believe in?
If you're going to sell it and make money from it, why not? If you're going to listen, property is a good investment if you know how to make it make money for you. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm saying, make it make money for you.
Okay.
Everything that you do, they're there to take from you. So you should be there to take it back and get out and live a better life. That's what every other nation does. Every other nation they make their money, they get their wealth, they chip back to where they come from. Every other nation does it. Yeah. Yeah, you go back to the Indian shop, it's closed down. Oh, Mr. Patella's gone. Oh, sorry, or the Pakistani shop. This, or the Sikh shop, or the Hindu shop. He's gone. Okay?
Right.
Where's he gone? Oh, he's gone back to Pakistan. He's gone back to India. Yeah, they don't make money. They're not staying there. So, but it's us to also say, no, we're going to come and we're going to enrich Africa. We're going to build on Africa. We're going to help develop Africa. We're going to work hand in hand with our brothers and sisters here on the continent. And we're going to make sure that we have an Africa that can stand up to the West.
But everybody's leaving Africa. Everybody's leaving Africa to come to Europe. A lot of people also have that mentality that obviously Africa, they can't make money, they can't survive. So they're leaving Africa and coming to Europe. So who are there? Who's there to build up the country? Where's all the? Because you get a lot of educated Africans that are leaving the country and coming to Europe and becoming doctors and lawyers and stuff. So who's there to build up Africa if everybody's leaving Africa? Well, that's
you told everybody's leaving. That's a myth. That's a myth if ever I heard one. Every hospital I go into here, there's African doctors, so I don't know what you're talking about, right? So it's a myth that everyone's leaving. I'm not saying that there's not capital flights. Yeah, I'm not saying that there's not, what I call the brain drain migration. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. But what I am saying is that it's not at such high levels that people think it is. It's actually at much lower levels. And the reason why is because people are learning from people that have been there. So, it's not like before where there wasn't social media and, you go and you think, oh, everyone's coming back rich, but they're coming back rich 30 years later, sick, broken down. And people are thinking, all of that is our house, I would rather live my life. So if you was to ask Dangote that, what would he tell you? If you was to ask Dangote what you just said, what would Dangote tell you?
That's a good question.
So it is possible then, isn't it? If you was to ask some of the richest women in Africa, why they stay in Africa and why they earn their money here, it's because life is sweet. It's because life is sweet. There are so many people that are, self-made here and didn't leave the country to make their wealth. They made their wealth right here on the continent. I've met some of them. I've interviewed some of them even. And so, and I feel proud even and they're proud to have said, no, I made it here. And I'm staying here. I'll travel around the continent, but, and I'll travel around the world. But, Africa is where it's at. Dangote is telling everybody, come and invest in the energy sector. Come and invest. These other countries are coming in, come and invest. And so it's for us to wake up, smell the coffee and go and invest.
Yeah.
We have to stop this mistrust of, we'll go and give money to cancer research that have been researching cancer for how many years and still can't find can't find a cure, when there are so many people out there saying, no, I have found a cure, and people out there on social media saying, no, I was cured and I use this cure. So why can't you go and follow them with these natural cures and put them out there? No, because it makes more money to say I haven't found it. So you keep putting money in. And I'm saying that we'd rather go and give money to an empty bucket than invest in, our own people in our own continent. And I say a continent because it's 54 countries. 54 countries to choose from. And trust me, even if you go to Mauritius, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. But the thing is that they've missold Africa intentionally to misguide us away from Africa. To tell us, no, go to Spain, go to Portugal, go spend your money there. Do you understand? Go to France, go spend your money there. But you come to Africa, you get more bang for your buck or for your pound.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my dog. You get more bang for your buck, more bang for your pound than you do, than you do going to those other countries. Plus, you enhance the African economy. So it's time for us to start using our African footstep and our money, effectively in the most productive way, the most powerful way. And the way to do that is to invest in Africa. My first investment in Africa was land, and it's the best investment I ever made. This is where my house is. This is where, I'm speaking from right now.
Wow.
I built my house on the first piece of land that I bought.
Wow. Beautiful.
It's my dream come true. Having the thing is weird. Yeah, I lived in England. Yeah, where we lived in a biggish house and it was nice, but I wasn't happy. At least here, okay, so I have 2 spare bedrooms that aren't being used. And so when people come, they've got somewhere to stay, which is lovely. And I've got peace of mind. I wake up with peace of mind. I've got the biggest bedroom I've ever had in my life.
Wow. I love that. I think it's very important to have peace of mind, and peace of mind in Europe. I don't think there is no peace of mind in Europe.
Look how many people go the back way and they don't have peace of mind. Look how many, when I say the back way, that's people who travel to Europe or America illegally, and they don't have access to healthcare. They don't have, they're living homeless. You see them on the street. I used to, work feeding the homeless. Yeah, that was my volunteering. That was my giving back to the communities that I couldn't stand it. And so I tried to do my best to help. And, in England, you have over 8 million, I think it is now, homeless people. You have something like over, I think it's 14 million living under the poverty threshold, who are using food banks to survive. Let's not pretend. Do you understand? Let's not paint this, pretty picture like everything's perfect when it's not. It's not. For many people are living on benefits. Many people are living on housing benefit. They're living in supported housing. They've lived in England their whole life and cannot afford to buy their house. They can't even afford to buy the house that they're living in. Some people are living on PIP because of the fact that, they got disabled because of the cold, because of, getting really bad arthritis in their bones and unable to work, and they're not even 50 yet. Because of the long hours that they were working in a cold store at the back of a shop. And now having to depend on the government, in order to support them. How many people? Yeah, and how many people lost their homes? When the interest rates scooted up, how many people couldn't afford to pay their mortgage? Do you know what I mean? How many people were living was working 2-3 jobs? I used to work, like 2 jobs. And I remember at one point I was working 3 jobs just to, make ends meet. And the thing is now they want to tax you on your little job that you're doing on eBay. They want to tax you on your little job. They want to tax you on your land that you got here. They want to tax you on everything. It's like they just want to suck you die, and they want to, you got to pay inheritance tax. They just want to suck you and bleed you dry. And then if your mum gets sick, she has to then put up her house in order to get help to go in. If she has to go into a home, if your house ain't big enough to facilitate her. Or your dad, your elderly dad. Whereas before, like here, we care in the community that your family look after you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's typical in a Black culture and community. We look after our elders. They come and move in. Even if they're old. So yeah, totally understand that.
Yeah, and some of us now are quintessentially English. We want to go live in our home.
Times have changed. No, I totally love your explanation of everything that you've explained. How do you think we can be better and do better You talked a lot about getting more knowledge, reading more books and stuff like that, going onto social media. How do people get in contact with you? Because you sell land, you have a wealth of experience and knowledge. How do people contact you? And yeah, how do you help people who reach out to you all the time?
Okay, well, I used to give out my number, but I've been gang stalked recently. Like I said, they have, the powers that were have this thing where I don't know why they have, I don't know, they don't like what I do. Maybe because I'm taking money out of their economy, who knows? But I'm not personally doing it. I'm encouraging everybody else to do it. Oh no, I have personally done it. That's not true. I have personally taken everything that I can out there, and and skedoodled back to Africa as quickly as I could. But I am encouraging other people to do it. So I have recently had some terrible gang stalking and lewd stuff sent to me, terrible things.
Wow.
Like I said, men, I don't want to see your feeding, okay? Sending it to me in videos, calling me all times with noises and stuff like that. Now I say contact me via email to be on the safe side. I just don't open attachments. So that's info@blaxithome.com. That's NINFO at Blaxit, BLAXIT home, HOME.com. So you can email me, okay? So I've kind of closed down the social media WhatsApp number somewhat because I was getting a barrage of it day and night. It just got so bad. And don't get me wrong. I think if I was younger and more naive, I might even, find it funny. But at my age now, I just find it too much. So please do contact me on that number. And I think one of the things that we can do is, learn from each other, and I think listen to each other. I think that's so important. I remember recently someone that I really cared about was shot, and I, said to the person, be careful around this area, be careful about this group. I just, my intuition is pinging. And the person's saying, oh, you're just saying that, pinging, and then something happened. So what I'm saying is that I think, follow our intuition more. Let that be our guide. If something doesn't feel right, you're not happy where you're living, where you're living isn't right, and that, you can take up some hustles and get out, then just do it. Not illegal hustles, obviously. Yeah. No. If you can stop drinking alcohol, do it. If you can stop smoking, do it. If you can stop doing drugs, do it. Do anything that can keep money in your pocket. Okay. If you rave every weekend, slow down, do it once a month. Start saving money. That's my advice to you. Because I hope that what happened in the last pandemic has taught us a lesson over where people can control your whole life. Okay. And that's why I say, give yourself an option. Africa is another option. Okay. At least if you've got your place there, you've got your place here. Anything comes on top later. I'm gone. Because when the pandemic was going on, I was living my life like normal. I was living my life like I'm golden. I wasn't even in it like you guys were. It was like you were in another universe. What it was like. It was like you were on another planet. I'm talking to my children and saying, oh no, but there's restrictions and then there's this thing on my phone if I go out, and then there's this and there's like, I was like, they got that much control. It's like this is what's going on. And then and I got to ask, and then I'm showing them where I'm like, Mom, you don't do that. I said, no.
I'm free. I don't have any restrictions or anything like that.
So it was good. There was only like in hospitals, that was like mainly it, hospitals and some of the European banks, but the rest of it was kind of living your life freely. And so it made me see the difference between living in a controlled society and being free. And I think you can't put a price on freedom. And I didn't know freedom until I came to Africa. I swear down, I didn't know what freedom was. I couldn't even describe freedom to you. Yeah, when Martin Luther King said about going to the promised land, I will go to the promised land. This is the promised land. I promise you.
Amen. Amen. No, I agree with you totally. The first time I put my foot in Africa. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. You just feel free. You feel out of that kind of just Western kind of bubble, and you're like, wow, I'm free. Like, it's difficult to explain. I can't explain it. I can't put it into words, but
It's
I
hard
know.
to explain. You have to feel it.
Yeah. You do feel it. I'm not gonna lie. You do feel it.
It's a feeling. It's like a key going into a lock and you turn it and it clicks. It finally clicks. It's like you sit down and you just think, oh, it's like this invisible, rucksack that you've been carrying with everything on your back. You can put it down. Yeah. And that is that feeling, and it's priceless. And that's the reason why I try to do my best to help everybody to repatriate that wants to repatriate, even if they just want an alternative home, home from home, at home, because this is home. That's why it's called Brexit home. This is our home. Because in England, I never felt at home. I lived there, I existed there, but I didn't feel at home. And I think Africa makes you feel at home. And I think that's what's important. And, do your research. Marcus Garvey has left us the blueprint. So, study. And Marcus Garvey's son is still alive. He's still doing interviews. We interviewed him on our channel, got like about 82,000 views. So please, do go and, listen to what he's saying. And listen to other people that have repatriated. And listen, you don't need to make mistakes when repatriating. We're here to help, here to guide you. We are here to help and we're here to guide you. So what I'm saying is that just, follow your heart. Your heart will guide you. Your heart will guide you. Pray. And, there's always divine guidance. There's always divine guidance, people have said to me, I said, oh, I saw Jesus in England, in Africa, and he's black. He said, what? I said, yeah, I saw, it was a painting on a wall in a church.
I think I've seen that on YouTube. There's a black guy that's walking around. This is in Africa.
And he got looked like me, and he's good looking too.
Yeah. Okay. No, we definitely have to do a part 2. I really appreciate you, Juliet, allowing me to interview you and taking the time out of your busy schedule and your busy day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stuff below, and this is the part 1. We'll have to do a part 2 another time.
Definitely, I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for being here and allowing me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Dangala Show. Thank you.
Thank you.